Has your woman pissed you off? Well, it's time we talk about the good old-fashioned hate fuck. In today's video, I'm going to talk about ways that you can positively channel your aggression, your rage, your angst into a productive, positive, enjoyable sexual encounter for both you and your lady friend. My name is Stirling Cooper. I'm an award-winning adult film star. I'm also a former high-class male companion, and I'm here to help you improve your sex life. Now, a lot of you might be familiar with the term make-up sex. Now, this is kind of personified by the couple that are arguing angrily, and then their anger turns to passion, and they start having furious hate sex. Basically, it's a very, very passionate moment, and it can be a very enjoyable moment for both you and your partner. It's about expressing and getting a lot of emotion out in the context consensually through sex. So, we're going to talk about a few different tools that you can add to your toolkit when this opportunity arises. You can take advantage of that passion and that lust and, lay down the hammer properly. So the first thing we're going to talk about is biting and nibbling. In particular, there's a few different spots which are good for biting and nibbling. The traps up here on your woman, these are very, very, they can take a lot of biting, a lot of punishment, a lot of squeezing, a lot of force. So these are good for biting, and gentler nibbling on the insides of her thighs, letting her know that you ain't fucking around this time. Licking. In terms of licking the face, this is actually kind of a degrading thing, so it's more along the sort of psychological degrading end of things, but licking the face, licking the ears, licking the neck, licking the traps, licking the inside of the thighs, licking sweat and tasting the sweat off of her, these are more animalistic, primal kinds of acts that two humans don't typically engage in. This is more animalistic lovemaking we're talking about here. The next thing that is universally loved by women everywhere, obviously, is hair pulling. And for those of you who don't know how to pull hair properly, pull it at the base of the spine and then up. Do not just grab and yank around. Well, there is kind of a context for that, but I'll talk about that in a second. But primarily, you want to grab at the base and pull up, right? And this is actually really good if you're engaged in this kind of passionate make-up sex, hate fuck, whatever you want to call it. Hair pulling is exactly the kind of thing that she's looking for in that kind of a passionate, really intense, rough sexual encounter. So, obviously, fantastic way to implement this is in doggy style. Personally, the way I like to do it is I like to grab the back of her head there, push her face into the pillow or the sheets while I'm fucking her in doggy style, and then, without any sort of indication or warning, spontaneously pull her hair back up again like this, kind of rather forcefully, but still, I'm still in control, and I'm still not kind of yanking, I'm still got a firm grip at the base, pulling it back here so I can whisper in her ear while I'm still fucking her doggy style, and then shove her head back down again. That is a really fun and exciting and dominant way of amplifying and taking hair pulling up another notch. Obviously, watch out for extensions, because that never really goes down well when you just yank a girl's wig out. Terrible. Another sex act that a lot of women, for the most part, are very much turned on by is obviously spanking. Spanking can be done in a couple of different ways. It can be done in the act of sex, so we're back in doggy style again, and we're smacking her and we're spanking her from behind. You can either do it in time with your thrust. Is actually, because I've been on a lot of porn sets, I've seen like how I have sex and how other male porn stars have sex, right? And that's actually something I learned from watching other dudes. I'm like, I used to just like spank kind of like in time with my thrusts, you know, like boom, 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 right? And then I remember watching, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Mr. Pete, another guy, another male porn star, long time veteran. And he would do it like randomly, like out of beat. I'm like, I kind of like that. It keeps him guessing, you know? So mix it up a bit. If you spank in beat with your doggy style, try mixing it up every now and then and just doing it randomly from the top down like that, like bang, firm slaps like that when she's not expecting it. Keeps her guessing, keeps it exciting. Obviously, you can also do spanking by simply just bending her over your knee and giving her some punishment spanks. And that's also good to tie, like you maybe pull her hair from here, you give her some spanks, you whisper some shit in her ear, you play with her pussy, and she is being put in that submissive role during this make-up sex, hate fuck, passionate sexual encounter. Choking is the next thing on our list of ways to channel that kind of aggressive energy. Now, obviously, you want to make sure she's okay with it first, and the easiest litmus test to tell if she's actually into it is to simply place your hand on her lower neck right here, or up, sort of around the collarbone just here. Just place your hand there and then see how she reacts to it. If she pushes her neck into your hand, that's typically a very green light for you to start lightly choking her. And well, as we're talking about in this context, it's kind of more rough, passionate sexual encounter anyway, you can start going a bit heavier. Most importantly, do not apply pressure on the windpipe. That is a no-no. We're not doing that. You're applying pressure on the sides, right? On the arteries, actually squeezing in on the sides of the arteries to cause like a light-headed kind of feeling. This is not about crushing the windpipe. That's a big no-no. One more thing you can do to really emphasize this dominant, submissive kind of roles that we are naturally going to fall into in this kind of a rougher, more passionate sexual encounter. Something that's really going to make her feel like she's being taken. And this is a very, very common sexual fantasy for a lot of women, this idea of just being swept off their feet, being taken by a strong, dominant man. And that is simply pinning her hands. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can pin her hands by her sides, like this, say in missionary position, so pinning them down like that. Obviously, we're not doing anything that she's not consenting to. This should go without saying, but there are some idiots on the internet, and I need to reinforce this every goddamn time I talk about it. Obviously, if she's not into it, if you read her body language, you're there, you're watching the person you're actually having sex with, you're not doing this with your eyes closed. So if she's not into that, you let go. You don't do that. If she's struggling to get out, you let her out. You know, maybe that's part of a game she's playing, but for the most part, if she's basically giving you a very, very clear indicators of no, don't do that, I don't like that, then you don't do it, you dumbass. But for the most part, a lot of women really get turned on by simply pinning their hands in like this during the active missionary position. What you'll find is typically when you do this, her eyes are going to light up in a very positive, happy, fun way. Another way of doing this, like taking control of her arms and pinning her arms basically behind her back in doggy style, head down, arms behind her back, and you can, typically you're bigger than a woman for the most part. Most men are bigger than their partners, right? So typically you can pin both her hands with one of your hands at the same time. Whether you do it this way and you grab her hair at the same time, right? You can combine all these different things simultaneously with a little bit of creativity. And look, some of these things might sound a bit outrageous to some men who are somewhat less experienced than me in the bedroom, but I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 hoes agree with me.